Oh, hello. Let me just finish my drawing and then I'll be right with you. Fear her. Fuck this story. Fuck you, Chloe Webber. That's what I think of this story. And that's what I think of my career as an artist. Hello, everyone, and welcome to my Doctor Who rant. The first Doctor Who rant in quite a long time, and the first Doctor Who rant of the new series. Fear her. Oh, for God's sake. So, Fear Her, starring David Tennant as the 10th Doctor, and the 11th episode of Doctor Who Series 2, and the penultimate story of Series 2. Okay, let's get this over with. The basic plot of Fear Her is as follows. In London, in 2012, the Doctor and Rose set off to see the Olympics, only to find terror in the most ordinary place. Okay, so Fear Her, well, as you can tell from the title of this video, this is a crap Doctor Who story. Fear Her is just crap. Fear Her, honestly, this story could quite possibly be my least favourite of David Tennant's era. The reason for that is that it's so fucking boring! I nearly fell asleep watching this story. Yes, it's that bad. Not only is it boring as fuck, the idea of the story, whilst at first seems kind of good, with the whole idea of the drawings coming to life and consuming people, but then on the flip side of that, the alien entity that lives inside the girl Chloe Webber, the Isolus, it's a flower. It's a flower. It's as much of a flower as the flowers in my fucking garden. It's just a stupid villain. One of the worst Doctor Who villains ever. The Absorbaloff is also pretty bad. Yes, I do agree. But the Isolus is, it's just as bad. It's just silly. It's just so silly. And the fact that the girl that plays Chloe, when she's pretending to be the Isolus, always has to whisper, "Chloe Webber, I love you. It's not fair. It's not fair." Oh, it just gets so annoying after a while. It really does. I think the script is kind of all over the place this time. Matthew Graham writes the script. Like I said, the premise seems kind of good from the offset, but then the episode becomes a complete drag to watch, and it's just too talky. It's too dull. It's too talky. And it just didn't go anywhere for me. And the idea behind the Isolus, okay, I can see what they were doing. It's meant to be an emotional story. The idea that the Isolus is just an entity that needs a massive family. It needs to feel loved. Because the spaceship has crashed and it can't travel to its planet, it's consuming the Earth, and it's using Chloe as a host. As for the cast, well, I mean, the cast are good. I mean, David Tennant as the Doctor is good. It's nice to see him get a bit more to do in Love and Monsters. But then towards the third act of the story, he disappears and he doesn't get to do much. Although I do quite like the scene when he holds the Olympic torch and he's running with the torch. That's a nice moment to see. And when he sends the Isolus pod back to its home planet. But before all that, it's just a load of talking and standing around and talking, oh, what's wrong with Chloe? And like, there just isn't really much of a story here. I just think that the plot is incredibly thin this time. And unfortunately then it's left up to Rose to basically end the story. Billie Piper is good as Rose, but I do feel like the comedy between the Doctor and Rose this time is a bit awkward. I don't know, some of the comedy just doesn't land. There's this joke about ball-bearing cakes. I mean, what the fuck? Like, it just comes out of nowhere, and it doesn't really work. The general banter between the Doctor and Rose when they're in the TARDIS, doesn't feel natural to me. It just doesn't feel like it's, I don't know, dare I say it may feel slightly out of character. Like, the Doctor and Rose do have good banter across the series, but this time it didn't feel natural. I just don't know. Something about it just didn't really work for me. It didn't click. Nina Sasania as Trish. She's good. She plays Chloe's mother, and you can see how much this is affecting her. She definitely plays the kind of tragic side of the story very well. Abisola Agbaje, who plays Chloe. Oh god. I don't think she gives a very good performance, to be honest. I know she's a child, I know she's a kid, so she doesn't have as much experience as some of the others, but I just get really annoyed by her performance, and it's not really her fault. It's the fact that she has to do loads of whispering all the time. She always talks like this, as I've already said. Every time the Isolus talks, it's just, ugh. I just find it really annoying, to be honest. Like, to be honest, the episode starts out pretty well, and aside the awkward comedy, it starts out well with the suspense when the Doctor and Rose arrive on the street, and they're trying to work out why the kids are disappearing, and we see Chloe's doing her drawings and everything, and then that part is really cool, and I like the effects in the way that the drawings come to life. It does look visually quite good, this episode. I think the ending, though, is cheesy. When Rose, like, launches the pod into the Olympic torch, and she says, "Feel the love." Oh my god. One of the cheesiest lines ever. I mean, come on. Come on, Matthew Graham, come on. To be honest, the episode is just filler. There is, like, nothing going on. For most of the episode, the Doctor and Rose are talking to Trish and trying to work out what the hell's going on with Chloe. And consequently, it just feels like it's pointless to watch it. There is no reason to watch it. And like I said, the Isolus being a flower creature, it just makes the whole thing seem silly, and it really takes me out of the story. Speaking of awkward comedy, there's this guy called Kel who does some, like, maintenance work on the road, and he tarmacs the road, and there's this stupid joke about him reporting Rose to the council. It doesn't land. Like, the humour in Fear Her really just falls flat. It just doesn't work for me. It really doesn't. The fact that the Doctor gets taken out of the third act of the story, it makes me less interested in that regard. Nothing against Billie Piper, but I feel like the third act would have benefited from the Doctor being involved, and I think there should have been more to the climax of the third act. Like, we see Rose eventually find the pod. Like, she just so easily finds the pod. It's just far too convenient how Rose finds the pod. It's too easy. They get out of it way too easily, I think. Then there's a scene when Chloe's dad, the drawing of Chloe's dad, tries to come to life, and then Chloe and her mum sing to stop it from coming to life. Like, I don't know, like, what's it with the singing in this episode? How does them singing stop the drawing of Chloe's dad from coming to life? I don't get that. I think that's just dumb. It's just dumb. I suppose this episode was trying to come across as sentimental, and in the end it comes off as kind of sappy and a bit silly. And I mean, if the Isolus was some different kind of alien entity, you know, then that would make more sense. I know what the story's intentions were. We were meant to sympathise with this creature, but it's a flower. It's a fucking flower, for God's sake! Also, the setting of the episode, setting it in London 2012, doesn't really have much relevance to the plot. I mean, other than the ending when Chloe tries to draw everybody, and then the Doctor runs with the Olympic torch. Other than that, it's such a boring place to set the episode. Why does it have to be set on Earth? Like, couldn't it be set somewhere else? You know, I feel like they kind of copped out with the setting of Fear Her, and it could have been so much better. There was a nice reference, though, to the Doctor being a dad, which I thought was nice. And I suppose the music from Murray Gold is quite good, but other than that, Fear Her is crap. It's a crap episode. It's not one of the episodes I go back to, and this could probably be my least favourite David Tennant story. It's just so dull and boring, and the idea, what started out well, ended up being very stupid in the end, so I'm gonna finish up by giving Fear Her... I'll give it a 3 out of 10. Yeah, it's not very good at all. Really not very good. So, that brings us on to the finale of Series 2, Army of Ghosts and Doomsday, which will be the next review, and it will be Rose's final regular appearance in the show. Rose will come back in the future, but this will be her final regular story in the show. So we're not going to be seeing her consecutively from now on. So yes, it will be certainly an interesting one to review. And it will be the end of David Tennant's first series. So anyway, thank you all for watching this rant, and what do you think of Fear Her? Please comment down below, let me know. I'd be interested if anybody actually likes this episode, because I'd like to hear a different perspective. But in any case, thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for my next review, which is Army of Ghosts and Doomsday. So until then, I'm Mr. Tarnus11. See you soon. Bye for now.